Hello and welcome back to BS Rugby. I know it's been a while, but we're back to make some rugby content for you. And especially with the Six Nations on the way, there's lots to look forward to. But today we're going to be having a look at the Welsh regions and what they need in Europe and how they can look to qualify with the Scarlets in the Champions Cup and the other three regions in the Challenge Cup. So let's get into it. Let's have a look and see what each team needs to be able to qualify in their competitions to the next round. Let's start with the Scarlets then. Scarlets are the only team in the Champions Cup at the minute, and they've had a terrible time, of course, in the URC, and it's been a really, really bleak time for them. A lot of questions been asked of Dwayne Peel and of his future as well, but they do have an opportunity to qualify in the Champions Cup because of the format. So there are 24 teams in the Champions Cup, splitting four teams into groups of 6, and the top 4 from each pool qualify for the knockout. So what do the Scarlets need to do? So the Scarlets, if they are to qualify, they got Po this weekend. If they can beat them with a bonus point, then they will qualify for the knockout. If they do lose against Po, though, this weekend, which it could be quite difficult challenge as they are going very well in the top 14, they will then need to travel to Franklin Gardens to take on Northampton and win there to qualify. So it's a pretty big ask. There's a lot on the line, you feel, for the game this weekend against Po. If Scarlets can get a good result there, not only will it help them to qualify in this competition, but it could boost them for the URC as well. It's been a really difficult time for them, and they had a tough time over the festive derbies as well. So victory against Po. Otherwise, they will be having to go to Franklin Gardens and get a result. So let's look at the teams in the Challenge Cup. So Cardiff, first of all, Cardiff Rugby. They have got to play some pretty tough teams along the way to try and get through. So Cardiff, first of all, they got that fantastic result against Ulster. Callum Sheedy, of course, with that great kick. Not the best time over the festive derbies for Cardiff, to be honest. And they started the season on fire, didn't they? And it's slowly begun to seep down a little bit. But there's an opportunity once again for them to kickstart things and get back on track. So this weekend, they've got a tough game. They have got to play against Racing. And if they beat them, and if Ulster beat the Cheetahs this weekend, that will mean that they finish the European group stage and that they will manage to go through. If they don't manage to beat Racing or Ulster fail to beat the Cheetahs, then they will be heading over to Exeter, to Sandy Park, to playing a very resurgent Exeter team with one Dav Jenkins, who's playing absolutely brilliant for them, which bodes really well for the Welsh national team heading into the Six Nations. So Cardiff with a lot to do. 2 very difficult fixtures. It very much depends what team Racing put out and how important they see this fixture. If they see it as an important one and put out a strong team, it's going to be a really tough afternoon. You'd like to think Ulster would beat the Cheetahs, and so Ulster will do their part. Then it's down to Cardiff to try and get a result against Racing. Otherwise, they'll be heading down to Exeter. Next up then is the Dragons. The Dragons, they have had a massive resurgence recently, a really good wins recently. Of course, they played against Lyon and managed to get that win, a massive win in such a long time since they had one. Of course, the news this week broke, and it's been reported for a couple of weeks, that Aaron Wainwright will be leaving the region at the end of the season. He is heading to Leicester Tigers and is the next one in a long line of Welsh players leaving Welsh rugby with all the uncertainty going on, especially around the Ospreys. We've obviously seen Derry Lake and Jack Morgan both go and join Gloucester. And so there's no real surprise that Aaron Wainwright is the next one to go. He's given a lot to the club, and it seems almost ironic in a way that he's leaving now with the Dragons beginning to put some form together under their coach and playing some really good rugby as well, and a lot of heart and going for it. And it's fantastic to see that. So what do the Dragons need to do? Well, this weekend they head to Benetton, and they will head there and take on Benetton Treviso. If they can win this one, they will then have a shot at a home tie when they play Newcastle. So if they can beat Benetton, play Newcastle at home, that should be enough for them to get through to the next round of the Challenge Cup. If they fail to beat Benetton, then it'll be all on the line against Newcastle. Of course, Newcastle recently taken over by Red Bull, spending a bit of money trying to get players in. Of course, they've got Wade on the wing as well, someone who can score tries. So it will be a challenge, but they have somehow put some results together, playing really strong as a team and getting those results as well. And it can build momentum, can't it? You know, they were losing games for so long, so close, so many times, and now they've found a way to win. And so Dragons, if they can manage to beat Benetton, then they'll have that Newcastle game to wrap it up. But if they fail to beat Benetton, then it could be winner takes all against Newcastle at home next weekend. And finally, the last team, the Ospreys, of course, the team that looks potentially likely to not exist next season. The Ospreys had a really good festive period, winning both their derbies. And so far in the Challenge Cup, they have a 100% record. First of all, they took on Connacht and managed to win that, an unbelievable comeback. And then they travelled to Montauban out in France. Montauban, not a great side, really, at the bottom of the top 14 at the minute. And they rotated heavily, but Ospreys getting the bonus point win out there. So what do they need this weekend? Well, they play Zebra this weekend on Sunday lunchtime. If they manage to beat Zebra, which they did do in the league in October, that would earn them the home advantage for the rest of the tournament. So not only would they qualify for the next round, but they'd be guaranteed a home tie as the top seed for the next round, however far they go in this competition, which taking teams down to Brewery Field is not an easy thing for away sides with the atmosphere, the conditions as well. It's not like going over to Thomond Park or over to Racing Stadium or anything like that. It's certainly a bit different, a little bit old school, which is great for the Ospreys, and they need to use that for their home advantage. So lots to play for this weekend in the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup for the Welsh regions. Opportunity for some teams to qualify and some ground to make up for other sides, and also a big opportunity for a couple of the regions especially to regain some form as they head into the latter part of the ULC. Of course, lots of the regions are losing Welsh internationals to the Six Nations now, with that just around the corner. And with that just around the corner, make sure that you've liked this video, you've subscribed, as we're going to be bringing back content. I know it's been over 3 years since I've done content, but lots planned ahead of the Six Nations and during the course of it. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon here on BS Rugby.